You see, it came as a great surprise to all of us that for the first time ever, uh, cessation of military action or a ceasefire was announced by another head of state and no less than the US president. And then, of course, that was then taken up by the two countries. So it is great surprise to all of us when a foreign head of state is preempting what is happening. Uh, and I think traditionally, at all times, globally, there have been back channel maneuvering, there have been diplomacy that has always worked at some point. But this sort of uh, staking the claim of harboring and brokering a ceasefire based on some allurement or some threats of trade deals, that is something that is absolutely shocking and personally unacceptable for a country like India to be told that you will stop trade or increase trade, and that's why you must stop taking your military action. Because what happened in Pahalgam was an attack on India, and not for the first time. It was about time that the Indian state, Indian government, Indian military gave a befitting reply to people who sponsor terrorism on the side of Pakistan. But this US declaration, and another worrying aspect I saw was that the Secretary of State or the Vice President or the US President, not once have they mentioned the word terrorism. They have not once said that we denounce terrorism and Pakistan must stop funding and nurturing terror outfits on their soil. On the contrary, they have started to drag the Kashmir issue for no reason. The Pahalgam attack was an act of terror. 26 innocents were shot down in cold blood, and their deaths have to be avenged, actually, because the fact that they are pushing the Kashmir on the discussion table is totally unacceptable. I think the government at the highest levels has to clarify, counter these so-called claims, because Pakistan is almost a failed state. They have a former prime minister in jail. The ISI and the deep state and the army control most of the decisions that Pakistan takes. It's a coalition government, a weak government, which has no credibility, because a few hours after the announcement of ceasefire, there was heavy shelling on the borders. So what credibility do they have as a state to ensure in future there will be no violation of ceasefire, or they will not use the funds given by the IMF or other monies that Americans have promised in forms of expanded trade, that money will not be used to fund further terror organizations. So I think this hyphenation is something that we had left behind long ago. The attempts to again drag and put India and Pakistan on the same platform, I don't think it's a positive sign. And certainly, Government of India must come out and clarify its stand. This attempt to internationalize Kashmir issue, the attempt to hyphenate India and Pakistan, is not something that is good for our foreign policy or for our global standing. We have demanded the government must answer. We have requested for a special session of parliament so that all these things can be put on record. And there is no greater platform than the Indian parliament to unanimously speak out against terrorism, against Pak-sponsored terrorism, and the fact that POK is part of India. We must reinstate that. All these discussions that have been, in the talk right now about having a neutral site for discussing Kashmir issue, and the way that all of our decisions are somehow being pre-announced by other parties, that is also not correct. I think Government of India must come out very clearly, and I don't think a spokesman, etc., would suffice. It has to be at the highest levels that they must rebut these claims, because in all I've seen, the Prime Minister addressed the nation, and all he said was all true. But he didn't once counter the US President. He didn't once say that he's not speaking the truth, and that the ceasefire was done on what conditions, because I personally don't feel that the Pakistan state has the credibility to give such assurances. We've clarified that from the Indian side, there are recognized and acknowledged terror camps on the POK and Pakistan side. And the 9 strikes that took place were a absolutely brilliantly carried out precision attack by the Indian Armed Forces, and I think full marks to the Indian Navy, Indian Army, Indian Air Force, that they have conducted with bravery and with minimal civilian damage. Must remember, India's attempt was not to escalate, it was not to damage any civilian assets or to attack any military assets even. We were simply targeting the terror infrastructure that has been nurtured by Pakistan for long, and they had to be demolished. So beyond that, I think what has happened is that the ceasefire announcements, the discussion of Kashmir, equating India and Pakistan, and how China has come out openly in support of Pakistan. I think these are all issues that are of great concern. And as of now, they say that Operation Sindoor is still operational. It's still in progress. So I have full faith in the armed forces, their wisdom, their courage, and their decisions on what to do when. I have absolute support in the entire country. We are supporting, the entire nation is behind our armed forces. In fact, the way they have conducted themselves, one of the most professional armies in the world belongs to India.
द वायर के और वीडियोस देखने के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन पर क्लिक करें। स्वतंत्र पत्रकारिता की आर्थिक मदद करने के लिए डिस्क्रिप्शन में दिए गए लिंक पर जाएं और अपनी राशि चुनें।